Okay, so this is the day before upload, so you can tell how prepared I was for this particular thing. It is snowing cats and dogs outside, which is why I'm not doing my internet stuff the day before. With everything better weather-wise, that's why I'm here now. So, during the day, right around 2 o'clock, which is at this time 20 minutes ago, got some interesting news regarding IndyCar. Apparently, NBC and IndyCar have agreed to a deal, initially for 3 years, it could be longer, for NBC and its affiliative networks to be the exclusive home to IndyCar. They're going to get every single race, they're going to get every single possible thing, and the whole 9 yards. Deal's at least for 3 years, it could be extended longer, based on how everything goes. This essentially means that ESPN/ABC won't have anything related to IndyCar past the end of this season. A lot of people speculated that might have been the case the year prior, when initially they were going to release all of their remaining motorsports people, or transfer them to a different particular area of job of employment, like they have before back in the day, until they decide to re-up their crew for one final year, it looks like. Now this is huge in my book for one main reason. ABC has had the Indy 500 virtually forever, as far as I know. They've had the Indy 500 every single year since I can remember. I don't know any other network that has any sort of affiliation with the Indy 500, except those that cover the qualifying and the practices, if that. Most of the time it'd be the practices. So this is huge to me on that aspect. And realistically, what this is the ultimate finale that a lot of people thought was going to happen, but people like me wasn't sure was ever going to happen. This is the end of the motorsports era on ESPN. Now, yes, ESPN did get Formula 1 back, but they are going to show, I think I'm getting this right, the BBC's coverage as if their announcers are commentating here for us. And I think it's either going to be a rerun of sort type of thing, or it's going to be on one of their websites, like ESPN3 or something. But either way, this essentially is a long time end of an era thing that a lot of people thought was going to happen, but was pretty shocking when it did happen. And I attribute this to one thing: the NASCAR community. Now you're going to ask yourself why, so here's the answer. For a long time, ever since the beginning of the initial mega deal, starting in 2001, there have been constant arguments about what network has always been better. The NASCAR on Fox people, or the NASCAR on NBC TNT, and or the NASCAR on ESPN ABC people. Now, as ditzy as Fox is, for some reason they have a cult-like following when it comes to their coverage, despite the constant debates of whether Darrell Waltrip's a good announcer or not. And to me, it looks like this might be, pun intended, the final nail in the motorsports argument coffin. Because it appears that the stupidity that is NASCAR on Fox has essentially self-destructed in accordance to all the other networks that have ever opposed them. When NBC bowed out the first time, they initiated the summer series with TNT, and people had issues with that. Why do you only get 6 races? Why is Bill Weber the announcer? He sucks. He's too screechy. And then when ABC and ESPN got back into it, they thought it was going to be greater than ever. But there were a few main problems with that. First of all, you couldn't have the original main broadcast because Bob Jenkins was with the Speed Channel at the time with Speed News, and Leonard went to Versus. Ned Jarrett was retired, and Benny Parsons, unfortunately, was gone by then. So, it didn't really work out in that aspect, and Jerry Punch, he tried, but he just didn't have the voice for announcing. And Marty Reid, he's a great announcer, but his best years were behind him, and good lord, he keeps getting caught up in every single ridiculous incident you could ever think of. The commentator of doom theory, essentially. Because if you don't associate that with Paul Page, you associate it with Marty Reid. And then, even with Allen Bestwick coming back after Marty Reid had left/retired, and I'm still convinced that's the case with him, it still was not good enough for the fans, and they still revolted against ESPN until they essentially said, screw you, we're leaving. And that's when NBC and NBCSN took back over the second half of the season. And even then, people are still not satisfied. You got rid of the network that had Allen Bestwick, now you want Bestwick back, and he's still with ESPN till the end with IndyCar, so after this season, who knows what's going to happen with Bestwick. Because honestly, I'm not sure at this point. Because one of three things there could happen. But anyway, now people are raging out, Rick Allen's not a good announcer. You loved him when he was a part of the Speed Channel, which, by the way, transformed into Fox Sports 1. And yeah, he's toned down the problems quote, and has replaced it with other things like, around goes the insert car number. And that's even a habit he's had when he was with the Speed Channel, with the Truck Series. That was one of his big phrases back in the day. No one really noticed it because he was constantly known for problems. But anyway, now with this, there are probably more issues than you could probably believe, because when NBC gets to their portion of the NASCAR schedule, IndyCar, despite them being closer to the end than NASCAR would, is probably going to take a back seat to it. Because you notice a lot of times that a lot of their races, comparison with Formula 1, when they had it prior to the end of last year, they always had the back seat element. And even then, Formula 1 had the back seat to NASCAR. Because NASCAR would get the main stations like NBC or NBCSN, depending on if golf's on that time or anything, or a Notre Dame football game. And then Formula 1 and IndyCar gets relegated to either CNBC or MSNBC. So it probably won't change there either, even with this type of schedule. And with all the other huge sports things going on, like they have the Stanley Cup playoffs, they feature English Premier League soccer, and their cute promo, it's time to get up for football, even though it's football there and soccer here. But is IndyCar going to have the priority coverage that NASCAR and the Premier League and all these other things they do? Will it be prioritized as much as that? And that would be my big worry in terms of NBC getting anything and everything. I'm sure they're going to prioritize the Indy 500 above anything and everything, but what about the rest of the season? So this is going to be historic and interesting on so many different levels. And my main thing would be, what would this mean for the future of NBC's commentary team? Because a lot of, well, pretty much all of their Formula 1 people have gone off to different ventures and stuff. I'm not sure what Lee Diffie's doing. I think he may do NBC's IndyCar coverage. We'll soon find out. He might be involved in that per se. It may be the backup in terms of other NASCAR events whenever IndyCar's not in play. The other guy who sometimes did IndyCar that's mainly known for Formula 1, he's doing Formula E for Fox Sports 1 now. Bob Varsha, who was in the Formula 1 stuff for NBCSN prior, and was with Formula 1 forever as far as I knew, is also with the Formula E crowd for Fox, so it will be interesting to see what happens in terms of that aspect, and I think this mainly goes back to the one big thing in all this, and that would be Allen Bestwick's future. And the reason for that is because Allen by far is the best of the best in terms of the commentators of today. To me, he's the second best announcer ever behind, not Mike Joy, Bob Jenkins. I just had to put that out there, just so you guys didn't get confused. Anyway, the main thing would be, what would his future be? Because a lot of people really want Rick Allen out of the NASCAR booth and to put Allen Bestwick in. Would that be a good combination now with Dale Earnhardt Jr. going to the NASCAR booth? Probably to counter what Fox did with Jeff Gordon, and I don't blame him. It will be interesting to see how this would format, not only within this year, but the next 3 years at least, and I'm going to see how NBC will deal with their motorsports coverage. Because I said this in a video a while back, I don't remember which one it was, but someone asked me about Allen Bestwick's future and what I think was going to happen. Either he'd stay with ESPN until the end, whenever that would be, or I thought Bestwick would retire before ESPN would give up the Indy 500, but I guess not. Or they could have Bestwick go to the Cup Series booth, have Rick Allen go to the Xfinity booth, and have Dave Burns go back to pit road. Or they could have Bestwick and or Allen in the Cup or IndyCar booth, whatever combination you want. You could have Rick Allen do IndyCar, and he's done that before. He's kind of there with it, but not as much as he is with NASCAR. Or you could have Bestwick do IndyCar, just have him transfer to another station and all that stuff. So, the broadcasting thing will be the main thing to look out for in terms of all of this, but congrats to NBC for doing all of this, and thanks ESPN for your long time run of all of this stuff, especially with the Indy 500. So, that's my 12-minute rant right there, talking about all of this. What do you guys think would be the eventual future for NBC and IndyCar considering all this? Do you think they're going to get the priority that the other things like hockey and the Premier League are going to have, or are they just going to be relegated compared to NASCAR like they have been in the past? Because that is honestly my one worry, that they're going to be relegated to the point where people are not going to care anymore, and they say, oh, NASCAR sucks again. It's going to cause another one of those ridiculous racing wars. But, anyway, thanks for listening to me. Hopefully we'll get some more answers in the future, not just one of those random things. It will be interesting to see what happens in the future.
Tonight, the push for the playoffs continues as the Bruins are in St. Louis to take on the Blues. It's game number 2 for Steve Letart's favorite player, the newest Bruin, Olympic phenom Ryan Donato. NHL Live, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on NBCSN.
Really?
Here we go. Well, earlier today, the NBC Sports Group and IndyCar announced a multi-year media rights agreement, which will make NBC Sports the exclusive home for all things IndyCar beginning in 2019. The multi-year deal will feature 8 Verizon IndyCar Series races, including the Indianapolis 500 shown on NBC. The remaining races will be shown on NBCSN. In addition,
on NBCSN?
all races will be streamed live on NBCSports.com
I'll
and
hold
the
you guys
NBC
to
Sports
that.
app. With more on the big announcement, here's our Lee Diffie.
Marty, thanks very much. It's a very exciting
Why
day.
is Hinchcliffe involved in this?
That is 5-time Verizon IndyCar Series race winner James Hinchcliffe and Mark Miles, who is the CEO of Holman & Co., the parent company of the Verizon IndyCar Series. Mark, I want to start with you first. This didn't happen just overnight. It didn't just happen after a few months. You've been working at this for several years. It must be gratifying to finally have it done.
It is a big day. We're very excited about it and very, very pleased with the substance of the agreement we've reached with NBC. We feel like IndyCar has been on the right growth trajectory now for at least a few years. Everybody's looking forward around the tracks, and NBC promises to be a fantastic partner as we get more exposure on broadcast television. We go direct to consumers for the first time as well. For the hardcore fan, we'll give them a lot to watch, and it's just really a really big day for the future prospects of IndyCar.
A lot of people are already talking about the increase, the jump up to 8 races on NBC network, terrific exposure. You know, motorsport is such an important part of NBC Sports Group's portfolio, a variety of sports. But what does it mean to IndyCar to have that one home, one broadcast partner?
It's huge. It starts with more races on broadcast, so more people undoubtedly will see these guys do what they do so well. But then we have a kind of consistent platform. So from race to race to race to race, our home is NBC, whether it's a broadcast event or a cable event. And we know that NBC cares about motorsport, cares about IndyCar, can help us coordinate with NASCAR coverage, and just a great win for race fans.
Because of the significance and importance of the day, we had to bring in the mayor, not Jeff Burton, but the mayor of Hingetown, James Hinchcliffe. I mean, you guys have been busy all day doing conference calls and speaking with reporters all over the country. People might be saying, well, why is Hinch here? I mean, what does this mean from where you sit? Is it important for the drivers?
Well, it's huge. You know, I mean, obviously, racing being such a sponsor-driven sport, the number one thing people still look at is TV viewership. Sure. You know, and we're out there risking our lives to put on a good show for people to see. The more people that see it, the better it is for us. And, you know, we know the stresses that our team bosses go through on a yearly basis trying to get the sponsorship in line. This is just another tool in their arsenal. It's just going to help them out. I mean, basically, if you look at that, you know, the increase in broadcast races, all the team owners went to bed last night and woke up with a property that's now worth a good chunk more. The value has gone up just on this announcement alone. So from drivers, teams, everyone on our side of it, we're thrilled.
Mark, a lot of hard work goes in at the NBC Sports Group on big events. So as we've just seen, we've had the Olympic Winter Games in Pyeongchang, South Korea, Kentucky Derby, Sunday Night Football, the Super Bowl, which we just had in Minneapolis. A lot of big events. Was that something that swayed you and swayed IndyCar's decision to go with NBC?
Really important. And I'm glad you're back on our time zone. Congratulations.
It took a while.
Yeah, NBC makes big sporting events bigger. And if there was any example of a great sporting event that can be bigger, it's the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Known all over the world, known all over the country.
At least say it
and
right.
The energy that NBC and the affiliates will put behind it is undoubtedly going to lead to important growth for us. It's such an amazing event, right? It is truly iconic. It's something that fans who may not yet know who James Hinchcliffe is, may not know much about racing, they want to go because it's a bucket list event. 350,000 people there for a race on a holiday that means something to the country, and I can't wait to see what NBC can do with it.
There's a lot to look forward to. What have your friends and your peers, your fellow drivers said so far?
I mean, all the drivers are very excited about it. You know, this is something that we've known was coming. We know it was in the pipeline, but I got to give Mark and his team a lot of credit. With the changing landscape of how people watch TV and how they, you know, take in sports and things like that, there were so many boxes to check, you know, and drivers were saying, hey, well, we need this thing. And team owners were saying, well, we need this. This is important to us. All the things that they had to go through. I don't envy the position he's been in for the last, 12 months trying to make it happen. But huge credit to everybody there. The feedback from everyone on our side has been incredible. The feedback from the fans, everyone seems very, very pleased. NBC does such an incredible job on the production of our races, so we're very excited.
See you in a few weeks, April 7 in Phoenix. Congratulations again on a job, Marty. Everyone enjoys good news, and this is certainly a good news day.
For you
Certainly
guys.
Good news for all of us, and I, for one, cannot wait. I find it hard to believe, DJ, Steve, neither one of you have ever been to the Indianapolis 500. I'm assuming you're going next year, correct?
Well, let it be right now. This is my formal request for a
for
2019.
I think we can handle that.
Yeah, what a great event.
Well, they said bucket list. It's on my bucket list. You know, Memorial Day weekend, I've been a little busy. I've been at the 600 Forever crew chiefing, and the last few years it just hasn't worked out with the 100th running and different things. But this is a bucket list event for sure. I have it on my bucket list. So he's requesting credentials. I'm going to go ahead and let the bosses know now. Sign me up. I'm in. I'd love to go up there and talk a little IndyCar. That race is unlike any other.
And Nate, we've been blessed to do Carb Day on NBCSN for a number of years now, and that is just an amazing atmosphere. But the race day is tenfold. Just describe the atmosphere of the Indianapolis 500.
I'm really enthused for you guys to see this in real life because I've covered about a half dozen Indy 500s. And the word pageantry gets overused sometimes. In this case, it absolutely applies. There's a pageantry to walking the grid on that hour before the green flag drops and feeling the electricity in the pits. You see rock stars, you see celebrities, you see politicians, and then you see the drivers get into their cars, and it is just, it sends goosebumps. up and down your spine. I mean, it's amazing to witness.
That tunnel with 300-some thousand people is amazing. DJ, one of the cool things is they've carried over your tradition of kissing the bricks. You started this, but now the Indy 500 winner does it as well.
Yeah, pretty cool to know that something that Todd Parrott and I, sitting around in a motorhome, kind of came up with something different, and we're able to carry it on, and to see the IndyCar drivers get out and do it. It's just, I think it just shows.
I think Weldon started that.
Appreciation that
the
we
IndyCar
all,
guys
as
doing that.
Have for this magnificent speedway and the opportunity. And when you win there, you're kind of willing to do anything, but it's nice to see these guys carry on that tradition.
Of course, the Indy 500 is the crown jewel, but you look at the IndyCar schedule. There's Long Beach. There's all these historic races, the twin races at Detroit. We're adding Portland this year for IndyCar. Steve, it is a tough championship to win. You have short ovals, big ovals, street courses, road courses. We talked about the diversity of NASCAR. IndyCar is pretty close as well. It's a tough championship to win.
Without a doubt, we had this conversation a couple days ago right around this table about variety and how it's needed in a series, in a sports series, in a motorsport series. And IndyCar, I think, has found that magical balance of street courses to road courses, big tracks to small. As impressive as it is to watch IndyCar go at the speeds they do around the Brickyard, I'm as impressed when they go around Phoenix, because I've seen stock cars go around there for so long. The first time I see an IndyCar go around there, it takes my breath away. The variety of the schedule is without a doubt probably one of the toughest to try to persevere in throughout the season.
He mentions Phoenix, so I'm going to read you some stats, DJ. I got these from Graham Rahal. They never lift going around Phoenix, which is coming up in 2 weeks on NBCSN. 5.5 G's in the corners. 19-second lap at 189 miles an hour. You ready to sign up?
No, not anymore. There was a day that sounds like that would be so much fun. What a blast. But yeah, that's what makes me admire these guys, is thinking about the Phoenix that we know and what it takes to get around there in a stock car and to watch these guys. I remember talking to Sam Hornish about it years ago when they used to race out there, and as he came in the stock car, just how fast it was and the feeling that you got. Because when he said you don't lift, that wasn't one of the places that as stock car drivers we do that.
And that doesn't count going 230 miles an hour into turn 1 at Texas. Excited to have IndyCar with us here on NBCSN full-time in 2019. Coming up on NASCAR America, back to NASCAR.
I don't give a crap about Danny Hamlin's solidification about being a baddie and not quite a mega baddie yet. You're off. So, that was the... As I said, the television better not turn back on me. Anyway, that was NASCAR America's discussion about it. I'm not going to get NASCAR Race Hub's reaction. I'm not expecting a reaction, to be honest. So, they helped out with a lot of the details that I did not know in my little thing 3 hours ago, which you just saw earlier. So, they helped out with some of the details. It turns out that they're going to try and get everything on NBC and NBCSN, so they are going to try and prioritize it. That's great. I'm glad IndyCar managed to work out that type of detail. I'm still a bit iffy about what their plans are in terms of the announcing, especially once all of the ESPN people becomes available, and if any of those guys, especially Bestwick, wants to continue with motorsports and what they're going to have to do to realign from that segment. So, that essentially answers a lot of the questions that I had. There's still some that I'm still curious about. You can reference to me earlier in the video in case you have any questions of your own. And hopefully, within the future, we'll have some more details. So, thank you everyone for watching. And I'm glad we got some more details. I'm going to get back to some more projects I'm working on, because I got a lot of weird video things to clear up. And you'll figure out about what that's going to be in the future a little bit. So thank you everyone for watching. This is Ultimate 23 Dragon, and that's my final answer.